Valve has announced that it's coming out with a new console, the Nimblendo Twitch. Gabe Newell has said that it's the most creative thing they've done in the last 50 years. In more fake news, this is Nuclear Grenade Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Nuclear Grenade Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Land, and with me is Havoc, aka Hey Ho. How you doing, Hey Ho?
It's me. I'm doing well, man. How's your day going?
It's going pretty good.
Good, man.
Yeah, waking up pretty good.
Yeah, same here. Got that good old elixir of the gods, the Ultra Paradise Monster, my favorite.
Nice. What does that taste like? Heart disease?
No, man, it's only 10 calories. It's like a multivitamin. That's why I tell Brooke, and that's why she lets me drink them.
So you lie to her and yourself.
Dude, they're healthy, man. I mean, if you look at it, dude, it's B6, B12, dude. Look at that. There's some niacin in there.
Yeah, you're right, dude.
Yeah.
You're right. That's how you live a long time, is drinking pounding energy drinks.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Want to talk about the games we've been playing?
The free games on Epic this week, there's two of them. The first one is called Offworld. The second one is called Abduction. And we'll talk about Abduction first here a little bit. It's from the creators of Myst. If you're as old as me and Justin, you might remember Myst. I believe that one came out in 1993, and it was this epic puzzle-solving adventure game that was kind of atmospheric and alien in nature. And Abduction is not a sequel, or it's not related to Myst, but it's its own game, but it's very much like Myst. And it comes from the same creator and publisher, Cyan. It's gotten mostly positive reviews out of 2,300 reviews. And it's one of those games that I think would be really fun to play on VR. And you can play it on the Valve Index, HTC Vive. Yeah, like when you look at it, it looks like it would be fun to play just on your PC. You're dumped into this alien world, and you gotta kind of figure out what happened there. It's trippy, is what it is, and it's a puzzle-solving game. So like you'll get notes that you'll have to read, and you'll have to read them thoroughly, and that will kind of give you a clue of how to progress to the next area. Other than notes, you'll get like visual things.
Visual, like physical puzzles and stuff.
Yeah, there'll be like hidden switches, hidden levers, stuff like that. And the satisfactory you get from playing a game like this is solving the puzzle, moving on to the next area, and uncovering more of the story. So, again, it'd be fun to play just on a normal PC or whatever, but if you have some kind of virtual headset, I think that would be really a fun experience to go into this world and just, hang out there, so to speak. Yeah.
I never played Myst. I watched a friend play it a bit. It's definitely interesting game. You have to be a super nerd to play those.
Yes, you do. By most people's standards, most people would consider it to be boring. There's not like enemies that you have to fight. There's no like first person shooter type of thing going on.
Yeah, it's like just a slow burn, interesting, like putting it together yourself in the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not for everybody. But again, if you got a headset, it would be a good excuse to use it, I would say, because it does look like a very pretty world. And interesting as well. So like, I didn't play Myst much back in the early 1990s because I thought, it was boring, and I was little then. I think I was like 5 or 6 years old. So it was like, I want to play. Oh, actually, I don't think Doom had come out yet. I think Doom came out in 1995. But still, even by that day's standards, Myst was kind of boring. So
yeah. Well, I didn't even really start playing PC games till like the 2000s. I was like Nintendo? 13.
Were you
12.
Nintendo kid back then?
Sega kid.
I was Nintendo.
Yeah. Poor kids were Sega kids.
Hey, you know what? Sega had some benefits because I think that they allowed the blood on Mortal Kombat while they censored the blood on the Nintendo version.
Yeah,
I
I
think I've
love the
got that
Mortal
right.
Kombat. But Sega also had some like bangers that people don't know about that like I would put up against like a lot of Nintendo games like Earthworm Jim,
Mm.
Booger Man.
Earthworm Jim was
Like
on the Super Nintendo.
well later, but the real one was on Sega.
The real one.
Yeah, and Booger Man.
Booger Man. I don't recall that one.
Oh my god, it's awesome. This dude, he's like a fat dude in like a suit, with a little thing, and you like flick his nose to throw boogers at people, and you fart on the enemies, and then like you could like eat a thing of bean power up, and then your like farts turn into like give you like little rocket
It sounds like
blasts, and it's like
that sounds like my grandpa, dude.
yeah, dude, it's fucking awesome,
Flicking
dude.
boogers at it.
Yeah, cling, cling, and you could run out of boogers, you know.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
So the next game, and I think you've actually played this a bit, is Off-World Trading
tiny bit.
Company.
Yeah.
You want to start this one off, or you want me to?
I mean, I don't have too much to say. I only played it for like an hour or two a little while ago, but it's very cool. Almost like a board game style of resource game. And it's interesting too because you have like an RTS type element. You're not really battling other people with like, physical units and stuff. You're like battling them financially and resource gobbling and managing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I actually played it a little bit. I wasn't able to get much into it, but from what I know, the games aren't that long. Was it like 30 minutes to an hour to complete a game? So it's not like Civ 6 or...
I think you can tweak it too, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like a super long game each time. You can sabotage the other players, like you can hire pirates, you can detonate underground nukes, and you try to control the supply and demand so that what you're selling is worth the most. And the end goal of the game is to be the major stockholder of all, I think, 7 different resources. Or, I'm sorry, there's 13. I just looked it up. And that one's got good reviews. I think mostly positive on Steam. Yes, mostly positive. So if you're into RTS games and you're looking for something a little bit different, it's not like Command & Conquer or StarCraft. It's like an economy-based RTS game, so it's a little bit different. The graphics aren't like super crazy. It's a lot more about the gameplay, which for me, I've always prioritized gameplay over graphics any day. So, you might want to overlook that because the gameplay is what really matters, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Well, not too much on that. I've been playing a couple games. First one I've been playing was Digimon Cyber Sleuth. I think I mentioned it like before. It just popped in my head, and I was like, yeah, maybe I will play that because I just never really did. Kind of weird as like adult playing these type of games because like there's definitely frustrations, but it's like from 2015. And it came out on the PC and Switch and stuff 2019. But yeah, it's like it's kind of cool. Like I haven't played like a monster like collector game in a while, and this one's like very different to Pokemon in like some weird ways. Like for one, multiple Digimon you can digivolve into multiple things. So sometimes you have like 8 different things you can digivolve into, and you can also go backwards. So you can de-evolve the monsters as well.
Huh.
Yeah, so it creates like, and I think like they can get more powerful if you devolve them backwards, and they just have so many where it's like you create these very complex chains where you can potentially move your Digimon from the start all the way into something totally different and weird. And get totally different abilities because you can remember abilities. So like there's a lot of potential there for making just like overpowered like crazy Digimon. And that part's really cool. The stat parts of it are cool. It's got that problem though if it's got fixed camera angles. and like the levels are just kind of weirdly designed. They look very cool, and like some of their takes on like cyber this and hacker this is like very annoying, but some of it is interesting, where you'll kind of have like these weird like colorful type backgrounds. You'll see like a 404 floating by and stuff, like when you're in the Eden. It's almost got kind of like a Ready Player One type of thing going on as well with its storyline, where you go into this Eden place where that's where people go like into like the simulation type internet place.
Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix type style thing. And so it's kind of cool. It's got all the tropes though, which I can't complain about too much as like an adult playing a child's game. But like I'd say some of the story beats are fairly interesting. It's like, oh cool, I haven't seen this in too many of these video games. This being like a cyber detective type thing. However, a lot of it is very written for children. And yet the game is not that easy, and it's very complicated. So like it's like way more complicated than Pokemon, and like it's pretty tough. So like the writing is like made for like a child's level, and yet the game's hard enough for an adult. So there's just like a weird. I mean, I guess like Japanese kids are smarter.
Well, you know
like
what it might be.
American kids.
They might have had the discussion of, because that came out and Digimon came out in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe they were trying to appeal to the 90s kids who are really into Digimon, who are now adults. Yeah. So they didn't want to change the world at all. They wanted to leave Digimon alone, but appeal the gameplay to the actual adults.
Yeah, but the writing is just like, maybe it comes off better in Japan. Well, there's some of that doesn't really bother me that much, but it'd be like, yeah, now I gotta go hack this, and those hackers are bad hackers, but then we're gonna hack the cyberspace, because it's a digital verse, and now I gotta digivolt and jump into my new Digimon in cyberspace, because I'm a hacker. And you're just like,
awesome.
Okay, you've got like 6 terms. It's like a 70-year-old man who's like kind of heard of the internet. And he's like, oh, like those cyber things, like where they don't actually know what the fuck they're talking about, or how like you can relate it into a slightly more realistic scenario.
Nice.
So
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So it can just very like, it can be grating at points. Music's kind of cool. There's like some of it's like very techno-y, but then some of it sounds like what was I thinking of? Some of it sounded almost like David Bowie, like almost in the background, very lightly too.
Whoa.
So very weird. It's weird but enjoyable. So that was cool. Oh, and another complex thing that we're not super complex, but a thing that I liked was that with the Digimon, you can have like 11 in your party, and they have there's multiple rock, paper, scissors wheels. So instead of just having like this colors beat this, it'll be like a virus beats a whatever, and that beats a whatever, and that's its own circle. And then you have fire beats grass, which beats water, and lightning beats this. And so you have multiple wheels of that way, and then light and dark. So that adds like another thing where you can get, instead of, I could have up to 3 times the damage if I have a perfect strength to their weakness on everything. So like their element and their like type. But if I only have like one of their strengths, I can get 1.5 damage. Or if I have slightly less than one, I can get 0.75 damage instead of just half damage. So if they are strong to me, so it does create like an interesting way to think about stuff. And when you swap monsters on a turn, you can actually swap out all of them if you want and totally change things up. So yeah, it's pretty complicated in those ways, and so it makes for a fun game. But I'd say the yeah, the poor writing and some of the annoyance of the level design drag it down a bit. But I'm actually having fun.
Are there
You just
any
kind of blow
hot
past
anime
that.
babes?
Oh, it's nothing but hot anime babes.
Ah, okay. I might play it then.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like super suggestive, weird, but sure. Just,
I see
and then
that.
there's two ugly people in the game, and I think they're both the bad guys.
So that's on Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation
I think
4,
everything. Yeah.
and PlayStation Vita. Huh?
It came out on Vita.
Wow.
2015.
I can't believe that system even exists still. I remember
I
getting
have-
that. I do too. I still have mine. I think we bought ours both in like 2011 or something
Yeah.
for like
Thinking,
$500.
Yeah, in Japan. No, they weren't that much then.
They
think
were
it's like-
it was 400, I think.
Yeah, because I bought mine in Japan.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
think
And
I
I
did
think it was
as well.
cheaper on base. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a limited supply of them, so
They were so awesome. It's insane that more games have come out. But I haven't used them forever, but I still have it because I have Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics.
yeah.
And it's a perfect way to play those games, like laying in bed, if I want to play them. And it controls really good.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I kept mine around too. I have a really nice case with a bunch of games in it.
mhm.
Before we move on, we
Oh, I
played.
had one other game.
Oh, you did too? Okay, well, I got two more games as well.
Okay, then go ahead with one.
Okay, we'll take
Swap.
turns.
Yeah.
All right. So we played Grounded again. We had a 5-hour session. I'm divvying those up into 1-hour long increments, and they're being released episodically, once every Tuesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey.
No way.
Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun. We've made a lot of progress. I think we've pretty much completed a biome. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure we completed an area finally.
Water. Yeah, the lily pad biome.
Yeah, I don't know if we can kill the koi fish or not, or if it would even be worth trying.
Yeah. That would be one thing, and then also the helmet. That's like basically the only piece I think that we know of that we didn't get.
Yeah, but like at this point, why would we even bother
Exactly. Yeah,
getting
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Because we already beat the whole area without it.
Exactly.
And I think we've still got a ways to go. Like we haven't even gotten into the gas area where it's like poison gases and the whole biome is like that. I think that's gonna be like the next place we go. We still have the tree to complete, but we can't complete that without killing the spider queen, which we can't even kill normal spiders yet. So I don't even know if we should even try that.
We can kill orb weavers easy, but
With a trap.
no, orb weavers you can kill straight up melee, but yeah, if you're wearing your acorn and using like your ant hammer, we've done it before, but yeah, it's the wolf spiders that get the fangs that we need.
Oh, you know what? And we started using our shields more, which is actually really helpful in combat. So I haven't really tried fighting a spider using
Shield's
a shield,
OP.
shield and a spear, or a shield and another one-handed weapon.
Trident.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've already talked a bit about Grounded, so we can move on to your next game.
Yeah, I played Tales of Portia.
I've been eyeballing that game for a while.
My time in Portia.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
Yeah. It's good. It's got some jank to it. I don't know much about the developers. Doesn't seem like they made tons of games though. It might have been their first one, at least at this scope. So there's some janky things. The animations aren't great. It could be like a lot better. Seems like it's not as fluid as in some games because they don't have as many frames of like animation put in there. And it's like some of the systems too are like kind of mid-tier. Like the combat is a little floaty. But for the type of game it is, it's pretty good. It's pretty serviceable. because it's not a game meant where you're like fighting all the time. It's kind of a Harvest Moon style game, but you're like in a town, you're starting a farm or a workshop that, you know, your dead dad or grandpa left you. And so you join this like builders guild, and there's other builders, and you all take contracts for the people of the town. And you know, expand your workshop and your farm and start growing food, and you can get animals. And I think they released so you can ride horses now. And then there's the mines. You go in and you mine, and there's like these monsters that you can kill to get resources and stuff as well. And you know, there's a whole system very similar to Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, where you have friendship with the townspeople, and you can marry one of them and have a kid, and you know, upgrade your house and all the upgrades, and you know, change your clothes and get better armor and stuff. So it kind of takes a little bit of everything and puts it together very well in a very pretty 3D world. You know, it's a fairly vertical world in that way. It looks very beautiful. Some of it looks like a veneer, but because you can't go into like buildings and stuff for the most part. But overall, it's very charming. Characters are all like, you know, kind of unique, and it gives you this kind of dreamy, fun, vibe while you're playing it. And yeah, I really dig it. Like, there's some cool ideas too, where they kind of get around the jank with things. Where it's like, if you go to one chest on your little base area, you can just click next on the top tab, and it'll go through all your chests. So you could put all your chests locked in your house and just put one outside, and that'll allow you to access all of them. So it's very cool with little things like that, where it's almost like they came up with them to work around the parts, whereas like their chests are a little too small or they take up too much space. And so like that's really cool. There's, you know, the storylines it's a little like kind of vague, but there's a lot of unique stuff going on in the world that like intrigues you, you know, because clearly you have these old CDs, or I mean old cities, futuristic cities, but you find like scrap CDs and junk from like a modern era, and you can either turn those into like the priest who's like, these are bad technologies and I'll give you good technologies like seeds to grow plants, or you can take them to the science lady and she like studies them, and you can unlock stuff that way. So there is this kind of weird kind of background, like world that feels like real, and it feels like they had some cool, interesting ideas that they put into it. And yeah, overall, I'd say there's a lot of stuff to do. I'm just scratching the surface.
It got very positive reviews, 25,000. So that's very solid base of reviews. So that's promising. And it came out 2019, so it hasn't been out long. Every time
it was in early access for a bit too.
Oh, but it's full release now. Looks like. Yeah. Every time I look for a new game to play that's like Stardew Valley, I always come across My Time at Portia, and I just never pull the trigger and actually get it and play it. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on that. I did notice that it's not co-op though, or at least it doesn't say it on Steam.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Because
the world is big. Like, it would be useful to have other people.
Yeah, that'd be really sweet if they were able to introduce that somehow.
It's definitely a good game, though. I'd recommend it. They're working on a new one, too, called My Time at Sandrock. So hopefully they take all the success they had here and make a game that's as good and as big and unique, but a little more polished. And again, it's like nothing that's like deal breaking, and even the stuff, like most of the stuff's not even that irritating. It's just like a little rough around the edges, you know, like a teddy bear you've had too long. Oh. Oh.
Yeah, so the developer on that is Pathia Games. Interesting. I haven't heard of them before. But yeah, what a lot of developers do is that they do exactly that. They'll make a game, and then they have this huge code base from that game, and they can pretty much copy and paste it over and use it in a new game and kind of improve upon it and like make a whole new product with a lot of the same guts and internal organs of a previous game they had made, so they can kind of scale up the quality and the complexity by moving laterally like that.
So it looks like they made Planet Explorers. It's an open world sandbox RPG. I never played it. I've always seen it kind of come up on Steam every once in a while. But that's the and Ever Forward, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, and then
it just came out last year.
And then Team 17 is the publisher behind that, which they're huge, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it's 17 guys wearing wizard hats.
Yeah. Moving on?
Yeah, let's move on. Oh, yeah, the game you had.
That's right. 7 Days to Die. It's the other Let's Play series we've got going on right now. I'm doing that one with my brother John. We are releasing that episodically as well. That one's coming out every Wednesday and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not familiar with 7 Days to Die, it's been out since 2013. It's been an alpha forever. I think it's funny because a lot of times you'll go into the comments section of their videos on YouTube and there'll be people like, oh, when are you ever going to release the game? But for me, I like, well, I hope not, because like it's like an evolving game, and sometimes they'll come out with like a huge patch, and it's almost like a brand new game that's kind of like the previous patch, except better, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been playing it since probably 2015, so I've been playing it for a long time, off and on. It's me and my brother's like go-to game that we always kind of fall back to. And I actually had started playing 7 Days to Die before I played Ark. And I think I brought this up last podcast where I thought that Ark was an inferior game, looking at it from a 7 Days to Die perspective because of the building mechanics. Like in Ark, you can't dig down underground. You build like prefabs instead of laying down like individual units for building structures like you do in 7 Days to Die. And before 7 Days to Die, I had played Minecraft, but the problem with Minecraft is that you build an awesome base, and then what do you do with it? Like, nothing ever attacks it. Like, there's really no point almost. So 7 Days to Die cured that problem by saying, hey, every 7 days, we're going to send a horde at you, and you can either avoid it, or you could build a base to withstand it. And so it adds an interesting, almost turret defense-like mechanic to the game. Yeah. Holy shit, did you hear that?
Yeah, dude. It's roaring thunder.
It's like 7 days right now.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, on the 7th day, on 7 Days to Die, it's always stormy and like thundering and lightning and stuff. And it's kind of like warning you like, hey, tonight we're sending a horde at you. So that's interesting that decided to happen then. You should, check it out. It's every Wednesday and Saturday, and it's a lot of fun. And I think it's still one of the best games out there, and it's constantly evolving. And I guess, if you haven't played it, I guess the simplest way to describe it is it's an open world survival RPG, like Ark, but instead of dinosaurs, you have zombies. And
only gay guys play it, though. So you're not allowed to play it unless you're gay. So.
That's right. Yeah. And you have to be married to a woman. So
yeah, you have to have a beard. Yeah. You have to have your own beard.
Well, and the cool thing about 7 Days to Die is it's made by the developers, the Fun Pimps, and this is just
that's a fun name.
Yeah, it's a fun name, and they're top tier devs that came from multiple larger companies and decided to make their own smaller company. So they're putting a lot of love into it. And I think it's the only game that they've made, and they've been constantly improving it since 2013. And it's got a huge fan base on Twitch, because I think it is a fun game for people to watch. You know, you're breaking into a house and you're sneaking, and all of a sudden, like, you make noise, like you walk over a garbage pile or something, and a zombie hears at you and comes charging around the corner, and you're like, oh, fuck. And, like, you try to run out of the house, but now there's a bunch of zombies that are, like, coming out and blocking the way. And,
Zombie!
oh, God. The cranberries.
Dude, how awesome would it be if every time a zombie came after you, it was like, zombie!
That song is so obnoxious.
Dude, that song rules, dude.
No.
Yeah, dude.
It overstayed its welcome. It overstayed its welcome in the 90s.
I don't think so.
Just like all the other cranberry songs.
I think it should be the only song that's allowed to be played.
Yeah. I like how they rhyme in that song. They rhyme the word bombs with guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my god.
When you're from Ireland, you can do that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I guess just move on into the news.
Beep, 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 beep.
This just in. The Steam Deck is Valve's new handheld. So yeah, they're making a new little Switch thingy, a Nintendo Blitch.
Nintendo Blitch?
Yeah, a man Blendo. Stem Blendo Blitch.
Yeah, it pretty much looks exactly like a Nintendo Switch, except it's for Steam.
Yeah, and it's got two little track pads underneath. The actual controller thumbsticks. And it's got a D-pad in the top left corner, which kind of looks cool. I don't know about the buttons in the top right corner, though.
I don't know about the buttons underneath it, kind of where, like, your pinky and your other finger go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's got a lot of buttons on it, and that's a plus, I think, for some people.
Yeah, lots of
The
buttons.
more buttons, the mo better. That's what Cash Money Records used to say.
Mo buttons, mo better.
Mo buttons, mo better.
That's right.
All berries. But this thing looks pretty powerful. Got up to like 3.5 gigahertz AMD 4-core in there. You got 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know what the fuck this GPU is. It looks like it might be like partly on board, but 8 RDNA, up to 1.6 gigahertz. But yeah, so the big thing here is that the prices change on the storage in it. So the 256 and the 512 versions are like what, 500 and 600?
The 256 gigabyte is $530, and the 512 gigabyte is $650.
Yeah, and those are both NVMe cards, which is dope. So those would be lightning fast. But for the $400 version, it's 64 gigs. I mean, like, which is insane. Like, unless you're only playing indie games, and even then, only a few. Like, this is going to be eaten up so fast. You probably couldn't even fit most games on the 64 gig.
That's like if you just want to play Stardew Valley, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then you would spend $400 on that.
Yeah, it does have expandable micro SD, but how fast can you get a micro SD card? So
not fast at all.
You're not going to be playing like big games off your micro SD, and the biggest games that you would need it for, well, you don't have enough room in the machine to play those games. The screen is not great either. 1280 by 800 LCD touchscreen, 7-inch. So apparently this thing's very slightly bigger and heavier than a Switch.
Mm-hmm. And you gotta keep in mind though that it is a smaller screen, and it's almost like a 720p monitor. So like if you have a larger computer monitor or TV, 720 would look okay. And then imagine scrunching that down onto this smaller screen. So
yeah,
it should look
Switch,
pretty good.
Switch has around that itself. Switch is not full HD. And then this is like I like their compressor, but stereo speakers that pack a punch. It's like, well, they can't pack too much of a punch, or the goddamn weight of the magnet will just weigh that thing down too much. It seems like it might be 1.5 pounds, which it's, I don't know. I feel like that could be, like, that's kind of heavy. Yeah. There's 2 of the trackpads. This is funny. The trackpads, Valve says, are 55% better latency compared to the Steam controller. It's like, oh wow, what does that mean? People hated that thing.
Well, apparently this is better, so I guess that's the...
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look, this is better than our other product.
Yeah, and then like the other biggie thing here too, to me, is the battery. So 2 to 8 hours, they say, but they say you could play Portal 2 for 4 hours. And you get less if you go 60 frames per second, obviously. But Portal 2 is like a really, really old game. So like, I feel like if you're trying to play anything new, you know, you're probably getting closer to that 2 hours. So it's less of a portable video game machine and more of a lay in bed next to your plug-in video game machine.
And
or a couch.
Like the Nintendo Switch, there's a dock. So you can hook it up to that to charge it and connect it to a monitor, a larger monitor. That dock will be sold separately. So now you're looking at, you know, $800 to get a decent setup. Maybe. You know, I don't think you would want to go less than the $530 version at 256 gigabytes. So $530 plus, I don't know, $150 for the dock. You know, so now you're at $700.
Yeah, I guess old Newell, they said picking the price was painful. So I don't know how much money they're actually making off this thing, because this is it's got some good stuff, especially for this price point, and compared with the chip shortage and all that stuff, it probably makes it a little more expensive for them, the manufacturing. One thing I have like major questions with though is like this thing is like basically a full computer. It's as much RAM as my computer has.
Yeah.
And yet, like, where is all that heat gonna go? Because you have a battery, you have a CPU, maybe like some semi-virtual video card, and then you have, and you have all this stuff tucked in this little thing with the screen there. I mean, that's a lot of heat.
There's a vent on the underneath and on the back, but I don't
burning your hands while holding. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that'll be enough ventilation. It might have heating issues. One more note about this Steam Deck is that it looks like you might be able to connect controllers into the dock.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to
even
use
the machine.
Oh yeah, you might be able to. I definitely see the USB ports on the dock, so you could like plug an Xbox controller in there. I'm not positive about that, but they've also got USB-C as well on there. So cool idea. It's just expensive. I don't know how many people are going to want to spend that much money. You know, for the 512 gigabyte version for $650. Well, hell, you know, if you spent $600 more, you could get a pretty badass desktop, you know, but I guess that would defeat the purpose if you wanted a mobile unit.
Well, and the desktops have just gotten so expensive right now because of all the part shortages. So, I mean, really, it's probably going to be comparable to a desktop at the same price.
Maybe. I don't know. And I am skeptical of the ergonomics of it. You know, like with the Nintendo Switch. Just holding it like feels like shit.
Yeah, I like where the thumbs are. I do like how high up the thumbs are, because that, to me, that seems better. Like if I'm holding it.
I don't know. I think it's gonna feel all fucked up.
The buttons are weird to me. Ubisoft getting sued by a workers' union in France for institutional sexual harassment. In June 2020, dozens of testimonies emerged on social medias, quickly backed by articles from various outlets. Liberation, and Numerama in particular, reporting cases of sexual harassment within Ubisoft. With the complacency of the Human Resources Department, which was protecting the harassers and silencing the victims, Solidaires Informatique said in a translated statement sent via email. And they specifically named Tommy Francois, formerly Ubisoft's vice president of editorial and creative services, for allegedly taking advantage of his position in order to harass multiple people. Sergei Haskowet, former Ubisoft chief creative officer, for allegedly taking advantage of his position to harass people. His assistant for allegedly taking advantage of his proximity to harass people. Cecil Cornette, former global director of human resources, who allowed harassment to flourish within the company. Several unnamed individuals, and then the Ubisoft CEO, not for any specific allegations, but because as CEO, he is responsible for what happens within the company. More importantly, complaint targets, blah, blah, blah. So basically, they're getting sued. I don't know exactly what the union gets out of it, unless the union is just representing the individuals.
Yeah, that is probably what the union is doing, and that's why people have to pay union dues. It's because the union's supposed to protect the individuals. But it's weird because it's weird to try to sue a whole company when it's not a whole company that's doing the sexual harassment. But the complaint is that they're not firing these people who are accused of doing the sexual harassment, and that's why they're saying, hey, this is an institutional problem within Ubisoft in France. So
Well, and if your HR department is like instructed to kind of help push things under the rug, and it seems like that is what was going on with a lot of these. Because how do you have this many complaints come out and not have the HR department like be hushing it up or protecting those harassers? So this is I mean, again, I don't know exactly what happens. Do they have to fire everyone? Like, I don't know exactly the outcome. I'm sure they pay some sort of fine.
well, in America, there would have to be evidence shown in court, where the people, the victims, would actually have to provide some kind of actual proof that this has been happening.
Yeah,
You're innocent until proven guilty. I don't know how they do it over there in France,
sure.
but
Well, I can understand it too as like a move to be like, whether we win or lose, this happened. And so we're going to drag your name through the mud, drag this battle out, bring up this history of harassment again and again and again until enough people are talking about it and thinking about it that they're forced to make a change. Whether that's mass firings, whether that's retooling the whole incentive structure to prevent these kind of abuses. Who knows? Exactly how the inner workings of a company that size works.
usually HR departments, like their whole purpose is to make sure that that kind of shit is resolved. And usually it's women who work in HR departments. So
Yeah, but their job's to protect the company from getting sued, nothing more. That's their job. Um,
technically it's supposed to help the people that work there to resolve
it's
issues and
supposed to.
yeah. Yeah.
Supposed to is, supposed to does. I mean, you're getting paid by the boss. The boss can fire you. So
Yeah.
it's under that guise. It wears that as like a mask. But HR is almost always just to protect the company from liability.
Well, hopefully if this is a real issue, the victims get their win against the company. I don't have any real feelings for Ubisoft. It's just a company filled with people, and if those people are doing fucked up shit, well, then they should pay the price. But
Absolutely.
there has to be evidence put forward. Otherwise, it's just anecdotal stories. So we'll see what happens. But that'd be crazy if a whole studio got shut down because of that.
Well, I didn't mean like that, but obviously, if you have to do that large of a turnover on executives, then the fabric of a company will change, and I think most of the time it's probably for the best.
Well, I think they're kind of right though too. Like, by saying that some of these employees, like, you can't fire them because if you do, then I mean, a lot of these developers, even Ubisoft, like these smaller studios, I don't think they have a ton of room monetarily to fuck around and hire new people that don't really know what they're doing and who haven't proven themselves. So like if you lose the VP of a company, like I don't think it's
And
that easy just
I
to
kind of
hire a new
disagree.
one.
I disagree only because Ubisoft makes the exact same game 20 times a year. They just put this is Ubisoft racing game. This is Ubisoft fight game. This is
Assassin's
Ubisoft
Creed.
shooting game. Yeah, like they're all the exact same game though. But Assassin's Creed's the exact same game. It's fucking Watch Dogs. If you just get rid of like the background, it's the same fucking game. Which is like the same game as everything they do is climb a tower, look out. Far Cry is just the first person version of
Yeah.
those exact same games. So it's not like they're this creative powerhouse. This man is holding the reins of destiny to create the best video game art the world has seen. No, they're garbage. They're a shitty company, and they pump out the same generic bullcrap over and over and over again. Some of it's good. They're competent. They're a large AAA studio, but no, I mean, your games suck. Fucking fire these losers. Maybe your games won't suck on top as like a little bonus to not having people be sexually fucking harassed.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
that is what's
But I'm a
happening.
heads roll guy. I'm saying fuck it. Cut out the cancer and move on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are kind of like EA, where a lot of their games are just kind of generic and plasticky. And I don't even know what games the France studios actually made exactly. I know Montreal Ubisoft has made like Far Cry, and but I'm not sure about France and what they do. But I do have to disagree. I don't think it's that easy to replace people, especially if they're on the higher end of a company. You know, they got to be trained in. And it's got to take a lot of time, and that's why companies like to retain their employees, especially the ones that have been around a while, because they know how things work. They know
Mhm.
how the flow is.
Yeah.
So it would be expensive to replace a VP in any large company. So
I don't. It might be expensive up front, but I think in the long term, if you're competent enough to pick someone that is capable of doing it, then yeah, in the long run, it's cost effective because you're not going to be sued by fucking sexual harassment charges left and right.
yeah, regardless, I mean, like, if he is guilty of it, then yeah, he should
I
be
mean,
fired. Like,
no,
there's no question about that.
yeah,
You
but
know,
like, this is the type of stuff though where it's like just their name being dragged through the mud for the last 2 years. Almost every other story about them is being tied to this. I mean, that's got to cost millions in goodwill and in sales in small amounts. Uh, so this guy is very easily replaceable because what he brings to the table is negative returns at this point.
that's a bad precedent to make, though, because
No,
now,
it's not.
well, as soon as
Well,
someone,
no, obviously do the research. Like I'm not saying you don't investigate it and then if it's completely false, but um, you know, if there's even a hint of truth there, then I think yeah, you cut it out.
yeah, maybe if they're guilty, they're guilty. Fire them. But if they're innocent, or you're not sure if they're guilty or innocent, then you need to find out. Because you can't just fire somebody because of accusations that were made against them. There has to be evidence, you know. Otherwise, you're setting a precedent that, like, hey, like, you're not guilty of this crime, but you're gonna pay the price.
Anyone, yeah, well, anyone can get mad because their paycheck was as large as they want and claim something, and then cost the company millions of dollars for sure.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, agreed on that point.
Okay, we agree.
Yeah. Up next, we got EA had FIFA 21 and the Frostbite engine source code stolen. And apparently, they're like to try to blackmail EA. They, of course, refused, and so now their hackers are releasing this data out drip by drip onto the internet. The big one to me here is like FIFA 21. I mean, that's kind of a big deal because what that means is it's every FIFA game. They now have the source code for all FIFA games because they don't change their fucking games at all.
Mhm.
But the Frostbite engine, that's a big deal. I mean, that's a pretty new engine, 3-4 years old. They spent a lot of years making that engine, and to have that source code stolen, I mean, that's pretty rough for them and a pretty big boon for the other video game companies, especially if you're a AA or single A studio. If you get your hands on that source code and then you can start making modifications, it saves you so much work. Potentially licensing and fees of using other people's engines, leasing them out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
The Frostbite engine's been out for a while though, hasn't it?
I think it was kind of new, maybe 5 years, but I remember when they kind of touted it, and it became their like the bedrock for their FBSs.
Yeah, John Carmack, who is one of my idols, prolific programmer, he actually set the precedent that he's written multiple video game engines or physics engines, and his policy was that as soon as he wrote a new engine, he would release the source code of the previous engine to
Mm.
so he was a firm believer in open source. So there is some benefit to that happening, but if you own the intellectual property of something and someone steals it, that's not good ever. But FIFA, any programmer worth their salt could probably duplicate the FIFA programming. But the Frostbite
Mm.
engine, I think that's a bit more complicated. Um,
Yeah, I'll say I was thinking of the Frostbite 3, which was a big update, but even that was 2013, end of 2013. So
yeah, I bet you that.
so it is older.
Yeah, it's older, so I think that type of engine is going to be open source soon anyway, or code like it will be open source. The engines that are being written now are probably way better, like the
Yeah.
Unreal 4 or whatever. And
Yeah, I guess they're already kind of blaming the Frostbite engine for like the failures of Anthem and shit.
oh no, that was EA's leadership or
Yeah, but
lack of it.
that's yeah, but these people will say anything.
I mean, like with Anthem, it was like, how big of a deal was it to fix the fucking loot system? It takes one programmer to go in there and change the drop rates, and
Well, wasn't that the thing though that they had them set to too high, and people were actually enjoying the game, and then they turned it down, and then people were like, "Well, fuck
it
this."
was down like for most of it because I played it quite a bit when it first came out, and the
Yeah.
drop rates were really shitty. And then like for a brief amount of time, just for a couple days, every once in a while, they would have it boosted up like so it was like really amazing drop rates, but then they would drop it down again so it was really low. It's like you guys seriously can't figure that out?
Hey, welcome back. We just had some connectivity issues, so we're just going to move on to the next one. Netflix is getting into game development. Netflix has hired former Oculus content VP Mike Verdu as vice president of game development. It looks like they're excited to do more interactive entertainment, which may be hinting at more stuff like the Bandersnatch Black Mirror episode they did, which I played through when it came out. And it was interesting. It was kind of cool. I mean, it was kind of cool to have like a video version of a choose your own adventure and even being able to go like back to page 2 or, a little bit and play through the video multiple times. So that could be interesting. It also looks like they have confirmed they're going to start offering games, like video games within the year, or they hope to. So that seems crazy. It seems like unless they're doing small scale stuff at first, that doesn't seem true, or it's probably cutting deals with other game studios to get streamed versions of their games or something.
Yeah, they'll probably just treat it like a digital platform, almost like a
Yeah,
Steam maybe.
but also making their own games.
Yeah,
I bet.
that'll be interesting. It's kind of funny because Netflix is kind of notorious. It's kind of become a meme that they greenlight almost anything, and that's why you get so
Yeah.
many shittier Netflix movies. There's a lot of good ones
I think
too, but
I think it's time for us to get into game development.
yeah, we can.
So, it's a video game about a dog, but this dog can see the future. Yeah. Greenlit.
Say no more.
Do you have any other ideas? Yes, it's a cat, but this cat has an asshole that can smell the past. Oh my god.
Stamp of approval.
Stamp of approval. Make this man VP of content.
It's always interesting and exciting when a company as big and prolific as Netflix gets into a new realm of industry. Because
It's fun to see the failings.
yeah, and
They fail a lot.
they fail a lot, but maybe they'll bring a lot of really cool, interesting, new, fresh ideas that the older companies haven't really thought of yet, or haven't been able to do because they haven't had the money to do it.
Yeah, that's always the exciting part. Is like, what can their money do? Although you see like a lot of like Amazon shit failing. The Google Stadia is an embarrassing joke.
Disney, I'm surprised Disney hasn't done more in video games.
I'm sure they will. Well, don't they own like everything?
Oh,
so
they
I'm sure
do.
they somehow do probably have tendrils
Tentacles
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I do kind of imagine like Disney is like a Cthulhu, like
Yeah.
I will sleep for 1,000 years and steal the minds of your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see
Walt
that.
sits on like a dark throne, absorbing like the negative thoughts he's subconsciously putting into children.
Undulating.
Their youth is mine.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways, we got a Company of Heroes announced they're coming out, and I guess they already have a demo up. And the tagline for this one is like, it's going to be World War II sandbox with the scale of Total War. So, Company Heroes it's been like a very interesting it's been around for a while. RTS game. You got a lot of things going on with it. You have people hiding in cover, a lot of unit types. And they've been very fun games. You can get the last one free like multiple times. I think Epic's giving away part of Humble Bundle. Usually pretty cheap. It's got a ton of DLC. I haven't played too much of it, but I've really like enjoyed the time that I had. I do like the campaigns. It was very cool. And to me, it's nice to have once in a while. And this is why I really like Command and Conquer a bit. And I know it's like Heiho's favorite RTS. But even though it ended up getting wacky, and I actually liked it more as the game got wacky, in today's era of RTSs, it's nice to have something that's like, this is a tank and shoots like a tank, and these are like regular guy units, and just not having like things being a little more realistic, just because everything else is so futuristic or steampunk or whatever. Plus, if it can get to if you can get like RTS style battles that are similar to Total War, I mean, that's awesome. That'd be awesome as hell.
Yeah, agreed. Developer on that is Relic Entertainment, publisher Sega. From what I'm seeing on Steam, the release date is to be announced at this time.
It looks here maybe 2022 is what they've said. Release date, but the pre-alpha demo is available.
Yeah, I've played a Company of Heroes game in the past because my brother and I were looking for a fun game to play together, and we had a lot of fun with it. So, and I've been talking about it lately, the comeback of the RTS, how it died down, and now it seems like it's coming back again, and I'm happy to see that because I think it's a great genre. And
RTS is kind of like a stone; it'll be there for you. Like a stone.
Wow. Yeah. That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, dude. So that's cool. That demo goes until August 2nd, I believe. So you got a couple weeks to go hit that up. Check her out.
Nice transition, dude.
Yeah. They call me the transition king for a reason.
Yeah, so check it out.
Check it out. I'll just bring this up one real quick, just because I talked about it a few weeks ago. The Amazing American Circus, that little 2D card battle circus style roguelite, is delayed until September. It's supposed to come out in August, so it'll be a month later. But just bringing that one up because we touched on it, and I did enjoy its style. And then finally, the last one I want to talk about was this. Psychonauts 2 will have an invincibility toggle. So Double Fine sent out some tweets. They said, if you beat Psychonauts 2 with the invincibility toggle on, you still beat Psychonauts 2. And then they had some other little, tweets like, you want to be able to beat the game even if you're not a Diamond 6 rank in Shooty McBlam. So they're poking a little bit of fun at the hardcore gamers.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Poke fun at
So
the
I do,
hardcore.
well, I mean, for one, Psychonauts is a fun platforming game. So I know you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I don't think options are ever a bad thing. But sometimes I do think that when you put options in a game, that it can be tempting to use them and ruin the experience of the game and take away the fun of the game. Like when we were talking, I don't know if it was last episode, it might have been the episode before that, but we were talking about Ark and all the different options and sliding scales and all these different things and that you can do, and how you eventually end up making the game a shallow, too easy of an experience. And it's hard not to, for some people, to take advantage of, well, I don't want to sit around for 5 hours taming this Theriznosaur, so I'm going to make it take only 2 minutes. But
and then they quit the game because the challenge wasn't enough to actually keep them interested.
Exactly. And now if you're using, and same thing with like people who cheat, like in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, that use like aim bots or that they can see enemies through walls. It's like, really, are you really having fun, like having this advantage over other players? Because
it's a different kind of fun, but yeah,
I think most of the fun that comes from a game is overcoming the challenge of it. And once that challenge is removed, or if you incentivize removing the challenge from a developer standpoint, and I do think that there's some responsibility on the developer's side to make it a fun experience, to try to ensure that's a fun experience for the player. And when you incentivize taking the challenge out of a game, or having the option there to do so, I think more mature gamers like us would probably not use that ever, but I think younger kids might, and now we're gonna look at a future of shitty gamers because they can just enable an invincibility mode whenever they want.
Yeah, depends on how young. But I also think, Psychonauts combat is not the main focus of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quirky stories and the platforming and the puzzle solving. Like, I don't really have a problem with this at all. I kind of even like it. I don't feel like I would ever be tempted to use it. But it's there for people. Another of this not only comes down, especially for a game like this, where it is kind of designed for children, so you want it to be accessible to children. But there's also kind of the accessibility issues question too. But my other take too is like people try to use this like in the argument of every game should have an easy mode and they try to make it some like moral crusade. I don't think that's true either. I think a lot of games could stand to have difficulty modes. But if difficulty is part of the experience, then I can totally understand why, and even prefer why, a developer doesn't add that ability to the game, because the whole point, especially something like Dark Souls, where this always gets brought up, but part of Dark Souls, it wants you to feel is like, especially if you get stuck and pissed off, it wants you to feel helpless. It doesn't want you to feel like you can just go and turn the difficulty down. That's part of the game, is not having that option. It's part of the entire atmosphere, an oppressive feeling that game puts on you. And it turns out a lot of people like that, because those games are fucking sell like gangbusters, and they make 10 of them. They've made 10 of them, and they're fucking amazing. Each and every last one, even the bad ones. So I think it's an argument that people do not argue like in good faith very often. It's usually like, oh, you want a baby game, you'll never get good at games because you're gay. And then the other side's like, you're evil and you hate people with disabilities and children because you don't want them to have invincibility mode. And I think it's just, no, it's like, it comes down to the artist's choice, the direction and scope of what the game's aiming for. And then also, is this designed for certain groups of people? Like, your average 90% of adults can beat Dark Souls, and the game's made for adults. So, I can see, I think, with some games you should have it and some games you shouldn't. And we should let the developers make those choices based on what's best for the game.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, they're the ones that are working on it, that spend all this time trying to make it a great game. And so they're not just going to casually throw something in there without thinking about it. I'm sure they're going to have...
And it's their investment.
Yeah.
Their money's in it, and they need it to be... They want it to be successful so they can make money.
Yeah. It's all about the money.
All about them Benjamins.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Ilyan Omar over here. Wow. But yeah, so Psychonauts 2 is coming out August 25th this year. Developers Double Fine Productions, publishers Xbox Game Studios. That's a single player game, story-rich, 3D platformer, comedy. It's a fun game. And since it is a fun game, I guess if I were on the board at the development team, I would probably say, yeah, throw it in there. I think choice is fine with a game like this, personally. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so you have anything else to add before we wrap up the old cast?
Again, Grounded Let's Play every Tuesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, a new episode, and then 7 Days to Die every Wednesday and Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's all I got.
Hell yeah. Again, I've been Justin. That's been Hey Ho. This has been Nuclear Grenade Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week.
Adios.